It's 10 a.m. Hello and welcome to Joy News Desk. I am Benjamin Akafo. Coming up in this hour, committee tasked to probe the bill on the promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values starts its public hearing today. Parliament adjourns again following failure to form a quorum. We'll be bringing you details of that. We have business as well in this package. Please stay with us on Joy News Desk. Let's get into our first story now. And the committee tasked to probe the bill on the promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values starts its public hearing today. The bill, proposed by some members of Parliament, will, among other things, seek to curtail the practice of LGBTQI in Ghana. Ahead of the sitting, a ranking member on the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament, Bernard Ahiafo, says the committee will thoroughly peruse the bill before putting together a report for a debate in the plenary. He also observed that the committee is scheduled to consider at least 5 petitions in a day.
Had a meeting, a preliminary meeting, and at that particular preliminary meeting, we came out with a roadmap. And based on the roadmap, we'll be able to take at least 5 memoranda a day.
5 memoranda a day. But you have we are told that you have over 100 memoranda.
Yes, it's now ranging between 140 and 145.
I see. And I want to know, I know the Christian society, the Muslim community, they're almost saying the same thing. Is there a possibility where you can merge some of the memos?
Well, for us, we are into listening to everybody, unless there is a particular group who will come before the committee or send a note to the committee that the points that I want to canvass, as a matter of fact, has already been canvassed by another group. Therefore, there wouldn't be any need for that particular group coming before the committee to make the same assertions. Based on that, we are in to give a hearing to everybody in order not to breach the natural justice. A bill that has generated so much interest, resulting into 140 to 150 memoranda being submitted to the committee. We want to do it today, tomorrow. No.
So it's certain that, even this meeting cannot have this bill at the plenary for debate.
We are now at a stage where we are doing stakeholders
engagement, right?
And we are going to listen to the people who submitted the memo to the committee.
Right.
Until that is done, the committee cannot even generate a report for.
But looking at the magnitude of the work, are you able to generate a report by the end of this meeting? Is it possible?
Well, the budget is also setting in.
Right.
I do not want to give a time frame, looking at the nature and quality of interest that the bill has generated. So, no matter amount of push, that will let me into giving you a time frame within which the committee is going to complete its work, unless I am God.
We'll be taking you to Parliament shortly as we get the details of that, speaking to Member of Parliament for North Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo. But sitting on Wednesday was adjourned abruptly because members present did not form a quorum to transact business. Member of Parliament for Adaklu, Kwame Agboja, first raised the concern, but his colleagues on the Majority Caucus objected it. Deputy Majority Leader Afenyo Marking argued that some members are involved in committee meetings and, by extension, engaged in parliamentary business. Do listen to the debate on the floor.
A house which is a master of its rules and acts in the interest of the nation, where we know that members can be unavoidably absent in the chamber, but will be carrying out parliamentary duty. This morning, for instance, the Committee of Defense and Interior members were at national security. Subsidiary legislation has been sitting. Finance has been having meetings. All I'm trying to say is that if we assume quorum to be suddenly arising, then we will be ambushing our own bona fides as members of parliament in this chamber.
It's this same house that made a rule that committee sittings take place after adjournment. So it's either we are saying committee sittings take place after adjournment or not. But currently, the rule is that committee sittings are supposed to take place after adjournment. Mr. Speaker, putting all these things together, I want my colleague also to be aware that since Parliament resumed, we've never had quorum at the start, most of the time. Yet we continue to work in cooperation.
Shakespeare says in Macbeth, there is no art to find the mind's construction in the face. Kwame, is it the case? I don't know your mind. I don't know what is in there. But Kwame, I am unable to tell your mind's construction in your handsome face. Is there anything ulterior other than what you are doing?
Rules. We all know what is right. And the lesson from today, which must be going into tomorrow and subsequently, is to ensure, or must lead to ensuring, that honorable colleagues come to the House punctually and to conduct business. Based on that, Mr. Speaker, I rise under the authority given to members of Parliament under Order 41(1)(a) of our standing orders, which is express that at any time prior to 3 minutes before the stated time for concluding a sitting, a member may move for the adjournment of the House. Based on Order 41(1)(a), I respectfully ask, Mr. Speaker, that proceedings be adjourned to tomorrow.
We shall stay in Parliament because Second Deputy Speaker Andre Siama, after listening to the debate, resolved to adjourn proceedings abruptly. He described the absence of the MPs as embarrassing.
Cannot suspend the House again. It's past 2, so I'll go ahead to adjourn the House to tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Honourable members, I think this House is embarrassed. The cameras are on us. We deliberately suspended the House for 1 hour just to make sure you get the numbers. Yet, we couldn't make out the numbers. I've counted and counted and counted and counted. We still have not made the numbers. Please, let's advise ourselves. The House stands adjourned.
Now, let's get some analysis on all of this from Professor Kwabena Safo-Kantanka. He's a senior research fellow with Odikro, a group that monitors parliamentary proceedings and the performances of members of parliament. He joins us now via Zoom. Prof, thank you for joining us. Initially, what is your take on this happening? Does it point to any unseriousness on the part of members of parliament?
Thank you very much, and let me say good morning to your viewers. Well, I think that is the right description. There isn't any seriousness on the part of some members of parliament. For me, right now, there is no question about whether there is absenteeism in parliament or not. What I call parliamentary truancy. Some MPs have become truants, and that affects the job of parliament to a very large extent. So for me, right now, as we speak, we shouldn't be talking about why they absented themselves, why they do, and why they do it so frequently. There is evidence that there's so much truancy in Parliament. So the conversation should now be looking at the way forward. How do we resolve this problem? How do we solve it? If you look at the constitutional provision, Article 97(1)(c), for me, the 15-day a period given by Parliament as someone who, if an MP absents him or herself for 15 sitting days during a meeting, that MP may be suspended or will face the rigors of the law. For me, the 15 days, I think, doesn't help. It is something we have to take a second look at. And for me, Parliament should be able to make new laws to be able to put in place some other measures to fight this kind of absenteeism. Now, for me, what I would say in the first place will be that I don't have the standing orders, the new one, that the revision that they did. You know, they have a new standing orders. The previous one also made reference in Order 17, made reference to Article 97(1). And so it's still the 15 days. Are there any other things that we can do so that we can prevent this kind of thing from going on? Because it's an embarrassment. And for me, the word embarrassment is even an understatement. So going forward, what should we be able to do? We must be able to make absenteeism expensive to MPs.
Exactly.
It is less expensive. And so there are other measures we can put in place to make it so expensive, such that if you absent yourself from Parliament, there are other things that can be done. For example, we always know those who absent themselves from Parliament. Can we even begin to publicize their names? Make their constituents know that your MP has not been coming to Parliament? Can we do that? Can we withdraw some immunities, some remuneration, some privileges? These are some of the things we should be looking at so that MPs absenting themselves will be more expensive than it is now. Because for the 15 days, even if it occurs, the Constitution uses the term reasonable. Reasonable excuse, reasonable. So what is reasonable? So if you absent yourself 15 days during a meeting, and then you are called to the Privileges Committee, the Constitution says that if you are not able to give any reasonable excuse, what is reasonable? What is reasonableness?
Prof, if I may just interject here, when you talk about remunerative, punishments that could be meted out, are you saying that the salaries of members of Parliament should be, hit? Is that your suggestion? Are you suggesting that maybe those should be taxed?
Salaries, allowances, yes. Salaries, allowances. For example, if an MP is suspended from Parliament, it's in the standing orders. If by some act of an MP, the MP is suspended from Parliament, they lose remuneration. You can lose some allowances, some part of your salary and all that. But that will mean that we will have to make some new laws. We have to put in place some new things. And that is why I'll ask a very simple question. If you look at the new standing orders, have the MPs said anything about absenteeism? Because you remember the Odikro absenteeism report came out in 2017. At that time, the new standing orders had not come in, had not been approved. So did the MPs, the Parliament, take a look at that and maybe put in certain measures to be able to curb absenteeism? If that is not in there, as I said, I've been trying to get hold of a copy of the new standing orders. If that has not been done, then I'll say that there's some intention. Because, all these things favor a lot of MPs. Because let truth be told that some of the MPs are businessmen.
Okay.
They do their businesses. They absent themselves because they are doing businesses elsewhere. Of course, the issues, the reasons for which MPs can absent themselves are clear.
Right.
All right. But some of them do their own personal things. And even that, you must seek, permission from Parliament, from the Speaker. If the Speaker has not given you in writing the opportunity to absent yourself from Parliament, and you do that, it is against the laws, it's against the rules.
Right.
But we haven't seen anybody punished over the years. We haven't seen anybody punished
and that is
for
something
from Parliament.
that obviously...
And that encourages.
Right, must change. Prof, we're very grateful for your time. We'll have to leave it here. That's Professor Kwabena Safo-Kantanka, his Senior Research Fellow with Odikro. But right now, let's cross over to the Jubilee House, where indeed the Director of Communications, Eugene Ahin, is in an engagement.
Or fund 337 Ghanaians to attend COP26. Indeed, there are three categories of persons who were permitted to attend COP26. And these are: 1, United Nations and related organizations and agencies; 2, media and non-profit organizations with observer status, and 3, representatives of parties to the convention and observer states. I mean, from what we've seen so far, it has been shown that not all 337 persons who registered as participants indeed attended the summit. I mean, there were media personalities as well as reps from TSOs who were captured on the list of 337 persons, and who have also confirmed that their trip to Glasgow was not funded by government. So for the avoidance of doubt, let me place on record that the official presidential delegation, emphasis on presidential delegation, comprised of 24 persons, including the President, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Minister for Energy, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, as well as officials of the Presidency and Foreign Ministry. Now, let me move on and touch on some recent comments that have been made by the President of the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Philip Name, at the Catholic Bishops' Conference held in Wa, capital of the Upper West region. Of particular interest to us at the Presidency are the comments made by the respected Catholic Bishop to the effect that, and I quote, "The expressed commitment of the President of the Republic to protect the public purse, a promise that citizens welcomed, seems to be an illusion now. Inasmuch as this administration is extremely tolerant of divergent views and welcomes criticisms of its work, we believe that these criticisms should be well-founded and well-grounded in fact, as this is the only way an honest conversation devoid of malice and propaganda can be held. You all recollect that the President took the oath of office on 7th of January 2017, and again on 7th of January 2021, and on both occasions, he pledged to protect the public purse, and that is exactly what he has done and he continues to do. Indeed, the transformation that has taken place in all aspects of national life point to an economy that has been well managed, a public purse that is being well protected, and the benefits are showing. Indeed, if President Akufo-Addo had superintended over the wanton dissipation of public funds, firstly, the Ghanaian people would not have reposed their confidence in him barely 10 months ago by returning a decisive margin of victory for him in the 2020 elections. Now, free SHS, which guarantees a minimum of senior high school education for all Ghanaian children and has already granted access to some more than 400,000 children, would not have been possible if the public purse was not being protected. Now, Planting for Food and Jobs, which has brought 1.5 million farmers into its orbit, who now enjoy subsidized inputs, fertilizers, seeds, insecticides, as well as other inputs, and which has ensured that Ghana no longer has to import food from her neighboring countries, like tomatoes and plantain, but currently is rather a net exporter of foodstuffs within the ECOWAS community. This would not have been possible if needed. Now, today, through the prudent use of public resources, 104 factories through government's 1D1F initiative are operating and are providing jobs for thousands of unemployed Ghanaians. 150 more factories are under construction, and the remaining 24 are at mobilization stage, and will provide more jobs for residents of the districts, particularly our youth. Indeed, if indeed the protection of the public purse was a mirage, the Akufo-Addo government would not have found the means to employ hundreds of thousands of teachers and medical professionals who, before the coming into office of this administration, were literally sitting at home twiddling their thumbs. NAPCO, which has brought relief to some 100,000 graduates, would not have been feasible if the public purse was not being protected. The effective rollout of the National Identification Card, which has seen some 15.6 million Ghanaians issued with ID cards, up from the 700,000 issued under the 8 years of the Mills Mahama government, would also not have been possible if the public purse was not being protected. Now, government has also found the resources to undertake the largest construction of road infrastructure, literally in Ghana's history. Ghana, under President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has recently been adjudged as the best place to do business in West Africa. Now, human memory may be short, but it cannot be so short that we've forgotten the free food, free electricity, and free water that were provided en masse by government to the most vulnerable in society during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The extensive measures taken by government during the crisis, which are still ongoing, went a long way to protect the Ghanaian people, a feat that was widely acknowledged across the world. Indeed, there were many who felt safer here in Ghana than in many so-called advanced countries because of the way government took control over the spread of the virus. Now, currently, government is engaged in paying up the energy legacy debts inherited, again, from the Mahama government, and we have cleared the 1.2 billion CD NHIS debt we inherited. All of these, again, could not have been achieved by a government that has lost touch with the problems of Ghanaians, or by one that is presiding over the reckless dissipation of the public purse. In the midst of COVID-19, when most of the economies of the world found themselves in a recession, Ghana was one of the few economies that reported positive growth. High fuel prices, high freight charges, rising cost of living are currently not a Ghanaian phenomena. They are the order of the day across the globe, unfortunately. Just as every country is confronted with these challenges, difficult, if I may say, largely as a result of the impact of COVID-19, Ghana under President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is making every effort through the Ghana Cares Obatampa program to alleviate the hardships brought forth by the pandemic. Now, it is important to state that the Akufo-Addo government will continue to work for the development of Ghana and help improve the living standards of all Ghanaians. Far from being out of touch, this government is highly focused on delivering its mandate. Now, in the course of this afternoon, the President will lead the Ghanaian delegation to attend UNESCO's 75th anniversary ceremony, which is being held at its headquarters in Paris. The UN Charter, which came into effect on 16th November 1945, provided for the creation of a specialized agency in the fields of education and culture. And the President will, on Friday, 12th November, deliver a statement on the impact UNESCO has had in Ghana and what Ghana expects from UNESCO in the coming years. President Akufo-Addo will, from Saturday, 13th November to Saturday, 20th November, take a much-deserved, long overdue 7-day leave of absence, during which he has also accepted an invitation to preside over the panel that would adjudicate a debate in the French Parliament on the trial of progress on 19th of November. He's expected to come back to Ghana on Saturday, 20th of November, and in his absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, will act in his stead. And finally, the President has also taken the decision to honor the late legendary Ghanaian highlife musician Nana Mpedu with a state-assisted burial in honor of his services to the growth of Ghanaian music. Now, this information will be duly communicated to the family of the late singer, and a befitting burial ceremony will be held for this noble son of Ghana. Thank you for your attention, and I'll gladly take your questions now. Yes, Elton. Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much, Director. Just clarity on the Glasgow participants. And you've mentioned that 24, the 24 represent those. Exactly. So stretching doesn't mean that the presidency only took care of the 24. The other numbers that have been banded around are not, or the expenditure covering that did not come from the presidency. And then the second issue is about what has happened in the Volta region town of Keita, where about 4,000 people have been displaced. I don't know whether the president has briefed on it. What is his position on it? Is the government taking steps to, in the immediacy, address the very concerns of the people? Thank you.
Now, first and foremost, if you take a critical look at that list that has been put out, you realize that majority of the list, or majority of the participants, again, were persons from the media and persons from civil society organizations. Yeah, definitely, as I said, there were four ministers: the Minister for Energy, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, and the Minister for Energy. So definitely these people, the agencies under them, for example, the EPA, Cocoa Board, some of these agencies are there. But as I said, the majority of the persons who participated or who came from Ghana were persons from CSOs, were persons from media outfits. Even the presidency, normally on these trips, we would ordinarily take a media person we didn't take a single media person on this trip, at least for the presidency. So, as I said again, not everybody on the 337-member participating list was present. Some undertook participated in some of the events virtually. So let's not stretch this thing too much. Bottom line, at least from us at the presidency, maximum of 24 were taken. End of story. With respect to what's happening in Ketu South, exactly, municipality. Yes, the president has been apprised of this matter. I believe the Minister for Housing, Works and Housing, has also made a comment on it, and he's indicated that currently government is in the process of finding the funds to complete phase 2 of this project. You recall that phase 1 of this project was completed in 2019, and I think sometime in April this year, feasibility studies for phase 2 of the project was completed. And as I said, God willing, very soon government should be able to find the funds to be able to do this. But once that happens, the Minister for Works and Housing would definitely apprise the country of whatever is supposed to take place with regards to that. Thank you.
Right, thank you again. So, government position on the criticism from the Catholic Bishop Conference, is it your understanding that is ill-informed, not based on facts? Perhaps they are not apprised with developments ongoing in the country that may have influenced their verdict on how government has handled the public purse?
There's no way I'll say that the Catholic Bishops' Conference is ill-informed, no. But we are in a democracy. Everybody has divergent opinions about what is happening with respect to the affairs of the state. In the opinion of the president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, the president is not protecting the public purse, or the pledge to protect the public purse is now an illusion under the president. I have offered a different point of view with respect to everything the government has done since taking office on the 7th of January 2017 right till now. And I have explained, at least from our point of view, what the president has done in overseeing to the developments we are currently seeing in every aspect of national life. So, again, in a democracy, he has his opinion on the subject matter. I wouldn't fault him for that. But likewise, we in government also have an opinion about what is going on, and I've outlined everything that we have done. Examples, not everything, examples of some of the things we have done to show that the president, on the contrary, is not presiding over the dissipation of public funds, but rather, on the contrary, through the examples I've given, you can see that we are rather doing a lot with the scarce resources at our disposal for the development, progress, and prosperity of Ghana, as well as the enhancement of the livelihoods of every Ghanaian. So that's what I've done, on the contrary, Alton.
Okay, thank you, Director. I'm also coming from the Catholic Bishop, then bringing in the former president who ended his thank you tour just yesterday. And he seems to have a problem with the NPP, the former president, Mahama. He has a problem with the NPP responding to the Catholic Bishop. If I should be precise, he quoted Communications Director, Boabeng Asamoah, and his point is that the bishops are just expressing the concerns of Ghanaians, so there was no point in the Communications Director responding to it. It seems to suggest that he's saying the NPP, and by extension the government, are not ready to accept criticisms. But during his tour, he's also stating that there are so much hardship in the country, and in fact, the upcoming budget is going to introduce more hardship. So tying in these things, can you assure us that the budget first is not going to, okay, let me put it this way, it's going to cut so many or address so many concerns in the country for which the Catholic bishop came out to talk about, and the former president is also reiterating. Thank you.
My simple response to what you just said with respect to what the former president said is, at least the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is not operating a Yentiobia government. We listen to the concerns of everybody. We don't come out attacking anybody for whatever concerns or reservations they have expressed. Indeed, all the Director of Communications for the NPP did was to state that the statement by the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference lacked clarity. He didn't attack him. He just said, if you could provide, to use the word, further and better particulars about what in his opinion is the President's lack of commitment to protect the public purse. Just give us examples, and then let us, on our own, also respond to those examples you cite. That's all he said. He said just bring clarity. He didn't attack the Catholic Bishops' Conference. He didn't attack the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference. On the contrary, he said whatever it is they want to put forward, at least we are listening government, will listen to it. And just as I have done right now, I didn't attack the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference either. All I just put out were my point, or the government's point of view with respect to the subject matter. Again, democracy, all of us are entitled to our opinions. We put varying facts together and we just debate them. Bottom line is, we are all looking for the growth and development of Mother Ghana. End of story. That's what we are looking for. So, on the contrary, I don't think anybody from government has attacked anybody in the clergy or has attacked the Catholic Bishops' Conference or has stated anywhere that we are not that kind of government. Now, secondly, with respect to the budget and with respect to the hardships or the criticism of hardships that are being leveled by the former president, yes, everybody in Ghana acknowledges that there are hardships. Even the president himself has acknowledged it, and that is why every effort is being put in place to make sure that these hardships are relieved. I mean, it is, unfortunately, the impact of COVID has been extensive. I mean, most of you have seen or even were watching the news from media outlets outside the country who stated that, for example, in the US, currently gas prices are at a 7-year high. Freight charges from China are skyrocketing, everything. And it's not a Ghanaian phenomenon alone. It's worldwide, unfortunately. And it's not as if this government is sitting down and has thrown its hands in despair and waiting for something to be done. There's a divine intervention from the Almighty. We are going ahead to do whatever it is we have to do. The Minister for Finance has already indicated that we have put in place 100 billion cedis to be able to implement this Ghana Cares Opata program, which will be able to help alleviate some of these problems. On the contrary, instead of imposing hardships, I don't think any president or anybody would delight in doing that to the citizenry. The Minister for Finance is due to read the budget on 15th November, and I'll just suggest that the former president should just take a chill pill and wait, and let's see how best the budget would address the concerns of the average Ghanaian. Bottom line, the president was elected into office to deliver on his agenda, and his agenda has to do with improving every aspect of national life and not imposing hardships. So we'll just wait on the 15th of November. I'm sure certain issues with regards to everything will be put, but let me not just give out anything, but let me just say that on the 15th of November, the Minister for Finance would speak, and then hopefully we can all have takeaways from whatever he will read.
So you mentioned that the president is attending the UNESCO 76th anniversary. 75th, okay. So we know that UNESCO is essentially UN Education, Science, Culture Organization. Just to, maybe without giving details, what will the presidents be focusing on? This is going to be on education, free SHS. What's in for the country?
You're going to focus on a number of issues, as I said, relating to, UNESCO is the UN organization basically in charge of literally education and culture. And basically he's going to touch on the impact our relationship with UNESCO since 1958 has been, what we have, let's say, benefited from this particular UN organization, and what, in his opinion, should be the way forward for UNESCO. Going forward into the coming years. So I can't disclose much, unfortunately. But as I said, bottom line, the impact the organization has had on Ghana and what he believes should be the role of UNESCO going forward. That's all I can say for now. Yeah.
Martha, thank you very much. What do you make of the incessant claims from the former president that 1 million votes were added to the president's votes in 2020, and the fact that he's calling for ECOWAS to embark on what he calls independent inquiry into the results of the 2020 election?
With the CID, all right?
Yep, he's still speaking for ECOWAS to come in.
ECOWAS that has President Akuba as the chairperson. Okay, this is my personal opinion, and not the opinion of the president. I believe the Constitution of Ghana provided remedies for anybody who believes the results of an election were not credible or were rigged in a certain way. We also saw what happened in 2013 during the election petition, 8-month-long election petition, and we all saw what happened. In the 2020 elections as well, at the end of it, the former president took the matter to court, and all of us saw what transpired. I don't think there was none of the claims made by the NDC at that point in time pointed to 1 million votes or anything like that being stuffed. For me, I mean, this is just an exercise the former president is embarking on, basically to please or pacify supporters. You had the opportunity to be in court, to present whatever evidence you have with respect to irregularities or the election not going on. You had that opportunity, full glare of the cameras. Everybody in Ghana was looking forward to you presenting that evidence. Not even a single pink sheet was presented in the 2021 election petition process. None. Zero. No evidence whatsoever was adduced. Zero. So then again, where from this claim? Indeed, till now, most of their supporters are even asking for their own collated results sheets right from 2016 to 2020. Till date, they haven't been able to provide. They don't even have the numbers. They went to court without the numbers. You heard the General Secretary himself saying that was not the reason why they came to the court. So for me, that's just, in quotes, diversionary tactics, comments being made by the former president to ginger up his support base. Obviously, we know he wants to contest in 2024, so obviously it's all part of the rule book. He has to do all of these things to ginger his support base, energize his supporters to be able to get him another shot at the presidency in 2024. But again, these claims he's making, no facts, no evidence has been presented. You had the opportunity to present these things in court. You failed to do that. You're now throwing these things up in the court of public opinion to do what? I mean, again, diversionary tactics to energize his support base. That's what I can say about what he's doing. Okay, if there are no more questions, then I think we can bring this session to an end. And as I indicated, the president will be taking a 1-week-long leave from the 13th to the 19th, and he returns to Ghana on the 20th. And I'm sure immediately we are back from, he's back from the trip. We shall have a briefing and then we shall continue to address matters of relevance to the presidency and also with respect to what's going on in the country. Thank you for your attention.
And that was Eugene Ahin, Director of Communications at the Office of the Presidency, giving us some details in that engagement with the press. He addressed a number of matters. Mr. President is going to be on leave for a week. The Vice President is going to be acting as President in the interim. Of course, he also touched on the bit about COP26 and some allegations about hundreds of people who had been sent to Glasgow in the name of government. But he is saying that is not the case. In fact, it's just over 20 people who were actually sent there, 24 to be specific. He gave some details on that. He was also talking about the fact of the Catholic Bishops' Conference and Archbishop Nama's recent comments on the back of corruption allegations. But he is saying that is not based on fact. Let's move on now. The committee tasked to probe the bill on the promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values starts its public hearing today. The bill proposed by some members of parliament will, among other things, seek to curtail the practice of LGBTQI in Ghana. Let's go live now to Parliament House and speak to Kwesi Parker-Wilson, who's following the sitting. Kwesi, if you can hear me, what exactly is transpiring right now in the august House of Parliament?
Presented their memorandum for or against the bill, which of course is currently before the committee now. If you look at the running order for today, we are told that the Church of Pentecost will be making a presentation, also the group of concerned Ghanaian citizens, and the Amnesty International, we know their position on this particular bill, and so today they are here to advance their argument against the bill. And of course, the Church of Pentecost has also taken a stand, and we know what their stance is. And the Ghana AIDS Commission will also be present here today to advance their argument for the bill. Now, I have with me the Dr. Kojo Asante of CDD. He's there with me. Doc, good morning and thank you for your time. The day has come that many Ghanaians are waiting for, quite expectant of what's going to happen today. For you, what are your expectations, sir?
Yeah, good morning and good morning to your viewers. I think just like any parliamentary process, this is just the one step in the long process of lawmaking. So for the committee, once after the first reading, the task is given to them to deliberate, to collect information, to sit in public. They need to satisfy themselves of all the issues that have been raised, and then to go away and deliberate and present a report to Parliament. So this is sort of an important exercise. We understand that the committees has received as many as 150 petitions, and that is a very difficult job because you need to try to organize all of those thoughts into something that is coherent for people to understand and appreciate the issues. So, I mean, this is just the first hearing, I believe, and I'm sure there will be others before the committee leaves. But it's a good start, and it's good that it's being held in public so that if there are issues that people have not really appreciated, understood, this is the opportunity to sort of throw more light on it. Through the Q&A, the questions from the MPs, this would further educate and enlighten people about the issues that have been put forward. So I think, you know, we should all participate. The most important thing is that at the end, there are people's lives at stake. There are very important issues at stake, so people just being civil and engage with the process, be accurate and consistent, and as much as possible, just try to help the committee to do their work. So,
what I mean, if you look at the bill, many have raised concerns about specific provisions in the bill before them. What exactly is your expectation with the committee as to how they handle the specific provisions that many are advocating for or against?
Well, I think that is the reason why we are here. We will have an opportunity because maybe some people have not seen the memos of other institutions. So all of those issues will be put forward again. Certainly the time allocated will be shorter than most people would like, but at least they would highlight the things that are most important. And I think in the debate, and I think there are about 10 groups or so that are presenting today, so you will get a real perspective, a broad perspective on many, many issues. And so for me, I think, it's not, the committee would just have to take all that in. And this is the opportunity for them to also ask questions. This is everybody's represented here. Ask the proponents, supporters, those who are against, to sort of explain, justify their positions and so on. So that's really, for me, is the exercise, and that's what we should be sort of aiming for.
But are you confident that this bill will see the light of day by the end of this meeting, by the close of December, because many are expectant of this bill?
And that was my colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, reporting there. We take a break now, and when we return, we bring you some footage from that sitting in Parliament.
Dominic.
And get into that public hearing as it transpires in Parliament.
James Aganga is my name, MP for Bulsa North and member of the committee.
My name is Joyce Lane Tete, MP for North Dai constituency, a member of the committee.
My name is Bismarck Tete Nyakon, MP for Upper Manyakrobo, a member of the committee.
I'm Joseph Kwesi Mensah, MP for Nkransa North and a member of the committee.
My name is Augustine Teria, MP BR West, a friend of the committee.
My name is Delasoa, MP for Pando and a sponsor of the bill. Thanks.
Emmanuel Bedra, MP for Whole West, one of the sponsors of the bill.
Helena Johntosu, MP for Kraki West and a member, one of the sponsors of the bill.
I am Apostle Ibrabo Forukrego from the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council.
Reverend Emmanuel Barriga, General Secretary of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council.
Reverend Venyane Boadum, member of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council.
Thank you. Reverend Alex Kumila, the General Secretary of the Church of Pentecost. These are members who came with me to represent the Church of Pentecost. Some are lawyers and with other background. Thank you. My name is Oladele Kwekuarubike, Church of Pentecost.
Apostle Vincent Ananodente, Director, Pentecost Men's Ministry.
Peter Kaba, Church of Pentecost.
Bernard Bosumpra, a legal advisor to the Church of Pentecost.
So thank you very much for the self-introduction. We all know the reason why we are here, but to put this in the... Oh, sorry.
Good morning. I am Rachel Oforiata with WAPCAS. Comfort Asamoah do WAPCAS.
Kofi Owusu Anane with WAPCAS.
Please, what is WAPCAS?
West Africa Program to Combat AIDS and STIs under the Ghana AIDS Commission.
Yao Graham, concerned Ghanaian citizens.
Echua Menu, concerned Ghanaian citizen.
Akoto Ampa, concerned Ghanaian citizen.
Henry Kwesi Prempe, concerned Ghanaian citizen and Human Rights Coalition.
Nick Opoku, Human Rights Coalition.
Kofi Asante, concerned Ghanaian citizens and Human Rights Coalition.
Good morning. I'm Angela Trenton Imbonde. I'm the country director for UNAIDS, and I'm part of a three-person team, the UN resident coordinator, Mr. Charles Obani, and the UNFPA representative, Mr. Ni Ochelufi. Thank you.
Okay, are we done? All right, thank you very much for the introduction, and you're all welcome. We all know the reason why we are here, but to put that in the right perspective, we will call on the chairman of the committee, Honorable Anyumedu Entry, who is also the MP for Asante Achim Central, to give us the welcome address.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bernard Bosompra, you are welcome. My boss at the Copyright Office. And Apostle, it's good that we have met here in another forum. Reverend Yannibuadum, I remember Legon days as yesterday. You were preaching to us every day. You are welcome. I welcome all of you. The committee is very much pleased with the kind of interest that you have shown so far as this bill is concerned. That's the purpose of this meeting, to actually listen to you. We have received a number of memoranda, and we thought it would be nice that we hear from you. Members would have to ask questions by way of, if we don't understand anything, we would ask questions so that you elaborate on them. The meeting today is a public hearing. We're not going to take a decision today, neither are we going to debate on that. On the bill, I'm sure most of you, everybody who is here who has shown interest had read the bill, and that is why you are all with us here. So we are very much grateful, and we welcome you all to this public hearing. We will not waste so much time. I'll give some few minutes to the ranking member to also make his comments, after which we'll go in accordance with the timetable that we have received. And if it's something that we need to alter, we'll draw your attention and then we'll go through it. Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. I stand on the existing protocol to lovely welcome all of you to today's engagement. We are looking at the proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian Family Value Bill 2021. In fact, as you know, law is an instrument of social engineering. It is a communicative action, and it must be in aid of development. I am personally happy that this particular bill has generated a lot of interest. That is why you are here. Everybody should feel free and call a spade, but not a long spoon, so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to have a free and fruitful deliberation to make this particular law the way it should be in aid of development of our dear country, Ghana. Once again, you are all welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rankin. On the program, we have brief discussions on the policy and principles of the promotion of proper human, sexual, and Ghanaian Family Values Bill 2021. And we'll be grateful if any of the sponsors will take us through this in a few minutes. Is there anybody willing to do that? If you are not ready, we could actually. Yes. Well, it's if you're not ready to do that, I think every person in this room had read the bill, so you are the proponents of the bill, and this is normal that you take us through what you have brought before us. You're not obliged to, but if you want to, right.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, you know the procedure in this House. The proposers of this bill have not been invited officially. We only saw it on the other paper. That's why we are here. And so if you can give us proper notification, we'll come and then espouse the principles under this bill. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we thought you could do this to the public, especially now that we're doing the public hearing. But if you are not ready, we're sorry. At the committee level, obviously we'll expect you to do that when we return to consider clause by clause. So that's okay, we can move on. So if you can call the first presentation, are they here?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so the group of concerned Ghanaian citizens, if their representative is here, yes. The National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights was supposed to do the first presentation, but upon our inquiries, they are not here yet. That is why we are jumping for group of concerned Ghanaian citizens to do the first presentation for us. So if their representative is here, you're welcome to the podium.
Honorable Chair of the Select Committee for Constitutional, Legal, and Parliamentary Affairs, honorable members of the Select Committee, the media, and invited participants. I wish, on behalf of our group, to express our appreciation of the invitation to present a summary of the key views that we expressed in the memorandum that we submitted to Parliament. We do believe that this is an important part of the lawmaking process, and further, that the issues have not been determined in advance, and that is why we are here to speak to the bill in the hope that significant changes may be made, or if need be, that the whole bill be rejected. Mr. Chair, I would make my submission in the following. Three, the absurdity of provisions of the bill and a lack of understanding of the issues that the bill purports to speak to. And finally, my conclusion. Mr. Chair, it is our view that the bill violates Article 1, Clause 1 and 2 of the Constitution, the very first article of the Constitution, now, which upholds the sovereignty of the people of Ghana, in whose name, quote, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised in the manner and within the limits laid down in the Constitution. So the powers of government, including legislative powers, are to be exercised only in the manner laid down in the Constitution and within the limits laid down in the Constitution, irrespective of the number of people that may support the piece of legislation. The legislation must meet that first provision, fundamental provision of the Constitution. If it doesn't, by Clause 2 of Article 1, that bill or that legislation is void. It's void. It means it doesn't even exist in law. Now, the combined effect of these two clauses is that the Select Committee and Parliament as a whole has a duty it cannot shirk to ensure that any bill that comes before it, the first thing that it must determine is whether it has been introduced in Parliament in the manner laid down by the Constitution. And if it crosses that hurdle, Parliament and the Select Committee must interrogate and determine whether the bill and its provisions are within the limits, again laid down in the Constitution. So, if the bill is introduced in a manner that is not laid down in the Constitution, that should be the end of the bill. It should be rejected. This is the force of the Constitution. Again, even if it is introduced in a manner laid down in the Constitution, but it is not, the provisions are not within the limits laid down in the Constitution, it is to that extent void. Our respectful submission here is that the bill has been introduced in Parliament not in the manner laid down in the Constitution. This is because this is a private member's bill. And under Article 108 of the Constitution, 2 and 3, it is the President or his agent who can introduce bills generally in Parliament. And where a bill, however, does not impose a charge on the consolidated funds or any public funds, then it may be introduced by a private member's bill. Now, it is clear from the reading of the provisions of the bill that the bill will impose extensive policing duties on the Ghana Police Service if the bill is to be effectively enforced. Secondly, the bill, with its provisions for so-called therapy and medical treatment, will require, in situations where the person responsible for the assault has no money, will require that the state steps in to provide medical services. These clearly impose costs, charges on the consolidated fund, and therefore ought not to have been introduced by private members' bill. Yes, it is the case, and we admit that Article 108 states that if, in the opinion of the person presiding, the bill does not impose a charge on the consolidated funds or other public funds. That is the text of the bill, of the law, of the Constitution. However, as we all know, and any discretionary power that is granted any person exercising a public function, like a Speaker of the Parliament, under Article 296 of the Constitution, must be exercised in a reasonable and not non-arbitrary manner and without prejudice. And where it is clear that the Speaker of the Commission of Parliament, as in this case, has exercised his discretion unreasonably by concluding that the bill does not impose a charge on the public funds, when it is obvious and palpable that the bill imposes a charge on the public fund. That decision of the Speaker is by Article 296 of the Constitution unconstitutional. And let us make the point clear that we live in a country under a democratic republic where we are not ruled by men but by law. So the Speaker is not above the Constitution. He is subject to the mandatory provisions of the Constitution. And it is our view that the Speaker violated Article 108 of the Constitution when he allowed such a bill that clearly imposes a charge on public consolidated funds and public funds to be laid before Parliament by. So, that's the first bit. Now, Mr. Chair, our position on the bill is that it violates the fundamental human rights provisions of the Constitution. It is, in our view, a measure of the ultra-extremism and totalitarianism of the bill that it somehow succeeds in violating virtually all the fundamental human rights provisions of the bill. Just one bill, one law, somehow has managed to violate every fundamental human rights provision in the bill. What do we mean by that? Now, by stigmatizing in the memoranda the LGBT community as inhuman or a taboo or alien to Ghanaian society, the bill grossly violates Article 12, guaranteeing the fundamental human rights of every person, subject only to respect for the rights and freedoms of others and the public interest. It equally violates Article 17, Clause 1 and 2, on equality of all persons before the law, because it separates LGBT persons as if they are not human beings and seeks to apply an equal law to them. Now, further, the bill seeks to promote customary values and practices, which Article 26(2) of the Constitution prohibits as dehumanizing and injurious to the physical and mental well-being of the person. This bill, Mr. Chair, actually attacks the very personality of LGBTQ persons and dehumanizes them and seeks to cause injury to their person and well-being by the provision that makes them liable to imprisonment upon conviction for their identity or LGBT activities. Again, Mr. Chair, Clause 212 of the bill contravenes the fundamental right to freedom of expression and speech, including media freedom, guaranteed under Article 21(1)(a) of the Constitution. It goes to the absurd extent of criminalizing sympathy for a prohibited act and promotion of support for change of public opinion. The bill criminalizes the promotion of support for change in public opinion with respect to LGBTQ matters, and sanctions that by a term of imprisonment of not less than 5 years and more than 10 years. So where a person exercises his freedom of conscience, freedom of expression, to sympathize with LGBTQ people, the sponsors of this bill want this democratic republic to make that a criminal offense, liable on conviction for a term of imprisonment of 5 years or not more than 10 years. Mr. Chair, this is not the republic that Ghanaians fought for. Now, clause 15 seeks to disband any association or organization in existence before the bill. And clause 16 seeks to prohibit the promotion, formation, registration of any organization or association with the purpose of promoting or supporting an act prohibited under the Act. Both clauses are in direct contravention of Article 21(1)(d), which guarantees the right to freedom of assembly, including freedom to take part in processions and demonstrations. So let's take a typical example. Supposing that, as is going on in the country right now, LGBT people are being attacked and beaten up, thrown out of their homes. If this bill became law, they don't have the right to go out and assemble and demonstrate to bring the state's attention to the fact that they are being assaulted. If they did so, there's double jeopardy, because in addition to the fact that they are being beaten and attacked, they would have committed an offense under this act and would be liable on conviction to terms of imprisonment. A lady, we are aware that the argument has been made that nowhere in the bill, in the Constitution, is there a reference to sexual orientation, sex identity, and so on. Our question is, the Constitution does not anywhere guarantee the right to sex. But any attempt to deny Ghanaians of their right to sex would be a violation of their human rights. Again, the Constitution does not directly make provision for the right to food, but it is well established within the human right domain that every person has a right to food. And again, the view that there is nowhere in the Constitution where there is a reference, a right to sexual orientation or identity, and so on, can only be made in ignorance of Article 33, Clause 5 of our Constitution, which provides as follows. Quote, the rights, duties, declarations, and guarantees relating to the fundamental human rights and freedoms specifically mentioned in this chapter shall not be regarded as excluding others not specifically mentioned, and which are considered to be inherent in a democracy and intended to secure the freedom and dignity of man. So our view, our contention is that this article, this very important article, provides a broad space for recognition of other fundamental human rights that are not specifically mentioned in the Constitution. And therefore, the argument that the right to sexual orientation or identity or expression of LGBTQ people